chosen by you through Twitter, and it comes from Zoe Thompson.
Thanks, Tony. My question's to the panel generally. The current budget seems to place an unfair burden on young people. The proposed changes to higher education are expected to increase fees, leading to a bigger debt burden for most. Young people also have to contend with the prospect of being locked out of the housing market, especially in major cities. And as we've already talked about, they're inheriting a huge environmental problem. As a mother and a high school teacher, I know that young people feel uncertain about the future. Are the burdens of today's young people greater than in the past? Greater, for example, than when you were young people?
Stuart, we'll start with you.
Yeah, certainly they are, because when I was brought up in a period of nowhere near, what certainly wasn't economic prosperity, but we hadn't discovered the market. We hadn't discovered the notion that you're and all the students here are simply commodities. On Q&A last week, we had a politician and an economics journalist saying and trying to reassure the audience that the major problem of this country was debt. Well, it is debt, but in terms of your question, it's actually a moral debt. It's a moral debt that we need to get rid of regarding the treatment of Indigenous people, regarding the treatment of asylum seekers, regarding the treatment of the young unemployed and the mentally ill, let alone the vulnerable people around the world whom this current government treats with complete indifference. People in West Papua, the Tamils of Sri Lanka and the Palestinians in the Middle East. So, yes, unfortunately it is because of this absurd mantra, this absurd notion that the market is king, and you've just had a commission of audit who said that the future is about competitive federalism. It's not, it's about a common humanity.
Tony, can I say something on this? Well, I disagree entirely, as you'd expect. I'm so damn old that I was at university in the 1940s, and it was an age in which there were no handouts, no student pensions. And my circle of people simply had to work their way through the damn university. And to go on strike or to have demos or riots about reduced handouts or the size of the debt that they incur by having their fees paid for is unthinkable. So I don't have too much sympathy with the young that you talk about. As for the Palestinians and the Israelis, I don't see how you can work them together. The real problem there is not is the organisation of which you are such a distinguished leader, Stuart. That is the Boycott Israel movement, the BDS, and while that continues, although I notice your university union, the Tertiary Education Union, has denounced it and rejected it, but I simply feel that...
No, Peter, I'm letting you finish that point because that was raised by Stuart, but let's go back to the question.
Yeah, I wanted to, because I grew up in the same 40s, and I was told quite clearly there was room for one person at university, and that would be the boy. So my brother went to university, and I did not. Now, it didn't matter because I wanted to go to art school anyway, but it was just an understood thing. And I hate to see the country turning back to really how it was before Gough Whitlam. Gough Whitlam did that marvellous thing when he made education free.
Didn't last long.
What?
Didn't last long.
No, it didn't, but it's a shame because it was a marvellous thing to have happened. And really the young people, students, are what the country's based on. And to make it hard for them. And with a lot of families, I know in HECS, they're going to increase the HECS. And with a lot of families, they've come from perhaps Crete or Italy or Greece. They're terrified of debt. They don't want their children to get into debt. And they won't let them go to university. They won't let them incur HECS fees.
OK, we've got time for one last question.